All right, today we're going to start the statistic unit. It's not a long unit, so it's only going to be this week. All right, so first thing we're going to talk about is data collection and sampling notes, okay? So it's going to be a 2-day thing. So the first thing we're going to talk about is types of data, and then we're going to talk about types of studies, okay? So there are statistics. So let's talk about what is statistics. So statistics is, oh, that's way too thick of a pen. Statistics is, let's see, is a collection of data that provides information, okay? Information. All right, there we go. Not the best handwriting, but it's up there. Now, there are different ways. There are two types of things you can collect the data from. Okay, you can collect the data from a population. And a population is going to be the entire group of individuals or objects we are studying. So a population is the bigger group of people. So for example, a population would be Ayden-Grifton High School students. Okay, everybody that goes to Ayden-Grifton High School, that is a population. Okay, now the next thing is a sample, and a sample is going to be a proportion or a subgroup, okay, proportion or subgroup of the entire group. So an example of a sample of Ayden-Grifton High School students would be like the freshman class, or you could say the football team. Okay, those are different samples of a population, okay? Now, when you get into the statistic part, so like the number part, you have two different types. A specific question quantity we want to know from a population is called a parameter. And then a specific question quantity we want to know from the sample is called a statistic. Okay, so a parameter and a statistic is just it's the number that describes some aspect of each one. Okay, so say I want to, Ayden-Grifton High School students, go back to population. So the Ayden-Grifton High School population, I want to know the average GPA of the Ayden-Grifton High School students. Well, the average GPA is the parameter, okay? Say I want to know the average GPA of the football team. That would be a statistic because it's about a sample, okay? So a parameter is about the population, and the statistic is about the sample. And it's really, what are you asking? What are you collecting data about, okay? So, examples. Let's go into some examples. We're not going to talk about parameter much yet. We're going to talk about statistic first. And statistic goes with the sample, okay? So, I want to know what is the population, what is the sample, and what's the statistic, okay? Population is the bigger group. Okay, sample is the subgroup, and the statistic is, what are you asking? Okay, all right, so it says Ms. Thompson asked her Math 3 students what music they listened to in order to determine what all the students at Lake Norman prefer. So the population, what is the bigger group of people here? The Lake Norman students, right? The whole school is the big population, so the Lake Norman students, okay? Sample, what is the subgroup of the Lake Norman students that she's asking? Well, she's asking her Math 3 students, okay? And then the statistic is, what is she asking her sample and what is she asking her sample, okay? So statistic goes with sample, SS, and then P and P. So what is she asking her sample group? She's asking them what music they prefer to listen to. So music preference. Okay? All right. Next one. Adam surveyed 150 of his coworkers to determine what percentage of Americans dream in color. All right. What's the big group here? The Americans, right? What is the subgroup of the Americans? His coworkers. We can say his 150 coworkers. Now, what is the statistic she is asking her sample? She's asking them how many of them dream in color. So who dreams in color? That's a good question. I wouldn't really know. I think I dream in color. I don't know. I don't know what I do. Sometimes you remember your dreams, sometimes you don't. That's just a random question. All right, pause the video and answer this question on your own, okay? All right, so I hope you paused the video and answered this question. So let's see if you got it right, okay? So Kelly polled residents living in her neighborhood to predict who North Carolina would vote for presidency. Who's the bigger group here? The North Carolina population. Okay. Who is the subgroup of the North Carolina population? The people live in her neighborhood. So we'll say the neighbors. And what is she asking that subgroup about? She's asking who they vote for presidency. Which can be a very controversial question. All right, now let's go into, so I hope you got that one right. So now let's go into what is a parameter versus a statistic. And this one takes some common, not common sense, but don't overthink it, okay? So remember, a parameter is with a population, okay? A statistic is with a sample, okay? So a population, now I'm going to go ahead and give you this preference. A population is sometimes really hard to ask everybody, like even with the census. The census is a survey, and we want to survey the whole population, but do you think everybody sends that back in? No, they don't. I can tell you they don't, okay? So sometimes it's really hard to survey a big population, so you have to think, is it realistic that they surveyed all those people? No, so then it would be a sample. Now sometimes it will be a population if it's not such a big population, like the Ayden-Grifton High School students. We could survey everybody at this school, okay, and make sure we got everybody because it's not too big of a population. But surveying everybody in Greenville would be very difficult to do, okay? All right, so number one, a survey of 1,103 students was taken from the university with 19,500 students. So I only surveyed this many out of this many, so this is a sample. It didn't even get everybody. The 2016 payroll of the New York Mets was this. Well, could we survey everybody on the New York Mets team? Yeah, we could. So that's a population. That's a reachable population. In a recent study of physics majors at the university, 15 students were doubling majors in math. Could we get all the physics majors at the university? Yeah, we could. It's a population. A recent study by the alumni of a major university indicated that the average salary of 10,000 of its 300,000 graduates was this. Well, it hadn't told you it only did 10,000 of that. So that is a sample. The average salary of all assembly line employees at a certain car manufacturer is this. Well, we got all of the assembly line people, so that's a population. The average late fee for 360 credit card holders was found to be this. Well, are there only 360 credit card holders in this place? No, there's not. So that's a sample. Okay? I did that wrong. Sorry. Sample means it's a statistic. Population means it's a parameter. I didn't even answer my own question right. But if you were to write population, it's a parameter. And if you're right to sample, it's a statistic. That is my bad. Okay. All right. Then this is statistic. All right. So next we're going to talk about the types of studies we can ask a population or a sample, okay? So there are three types we're going to talk about in here. The first one is observational. Observational, this is the study that is designed to observe students as they are, or subjects as they are, without any manipulation by the researcher. So this is literally just where the researcher watches what happens or happen and draw conclusions. So this is where you do nothing to the people. So the example I give is like when Dr. Caton comes in and observes me teaching. Nothing changes. Okay, she didn't come in and say, hey, I want this group to listen to you teaching and I want this group to watch you on your video, and then we compare. That would be changing how I teach at school. An observational study is where she comes in and she just watches what I'm already doing and draws conclusions, okay? An experimental study, this study assigns students to a treatment to see what effect the treatments have on some responses. So this is where the researcher manipulates one variable to determine how the manipulation. So I give the example about the COVID vaccine, okay? So they're doing studies about the COVID-19 vaccine. And they have groups. They have one group who's actually getting the vaccine, and they have another group who's getting the placebo. And just so you know, placebo is they tell you placebo is just a fake medicine, basically, okay? It's like a candy pill or something like that. But they don't know they're getting the placebo, and they don't know they're getting the vaccine. That's an experiment where you're giving them something and you're changing their everyday life, okay? A survey, this study is a type of observational study that gathers data by asking people a number of questions. This is where researchers specifically ask their samples questions. So you know how we at school, we've been sending you surveys? I've been posting them on the website. That's a survey study, okay? We're sending out a survey, we're collecting the data from your responses, and we're going from there, okay? All right, let's go to blue. No, I want that blue. All right. So, in this example, I want you to tell me, is it observational, experimental, or a survey, okay? So, a researcher gathered a group of people and asked them whether or not they took vitamin supplements. The research then compared the health of those who took the vitamins with those who did not. Did he give them the vitamin supplements? No, he didn't. He asked people if they were taking it or if they were not. So, this is observational. Okay. A researcher gathered a group of people and divided them into two groups. One group got a daily vitamin supplement and the other did not. After 1 year, the researcher compared the health of the two groups. All right, they split them into two groups and they gave them a vitamin. So this is experimental. A random sample of 30 digital cameras is selected and divided into two groups. One group is given a brand name battery while the other group is given generic battery. Pictures are taken under identical conditions and the battery life of the two groups is compared. Well, I'm changing their batteries. I'm making one do brand name and I'm making one do generic. That's experimental. Okay. Using SAT scores to predict a student's college success has created some controversy. A study was conducted to examine the SAT and college GPA information of 105 students who graduated from a state university with a BS in computer science. Did we do anything? No, we looked. These people were already taking the SAT, and we were looking at their scores. It's observational. Okay. How much television is too much for children? Parents answered a questionnaire about their children's age, characteristic behavior, and television viewing habits. We didn't do anything. We are giving them a survey, so this is a survey study, okay? All right, so that is it for today's notes, okay? You have a worksheet that's going to look like this. That's due today, and we'll continue more statistics tomorrow.